So I read something today that very much stuck with me and I guess bothered me would be the word or the phrase. It was this idea that so I was reading a book and it was a section of the book around how like mass propaganda and groups can get people to do evil things or hatred is built up. So like the Nazis, Stalin in the Soviet Union, those types of things. And the statement that they made was that like one of the tactics they used, or one of the concepts they used, was to say that they kind of hit the idea of acting immorally head on. So they didn't try and shy away from it and say that like the things we're doing are good necessarily. They acknowledged they were immoral, but they kind of positioned it in a way that said the duty we have, like the sign that you like, I don't even want to say it, that to live up to the ideal form in which you should be, to serve your duty as a citizen, you have to be willing to act immorally. And there's something in that that's so deeply, I don't want to say profound, but like there's something intelligent in it, but that's what makes it super evil. To spin that thing on its head and say, you know, the most ethical, the most honorable, maybe that's the right phrase, that's the way they positioned it, the most honorable thing you can do to live up to your duty and responsibility as a citizen is to act immorally. And the reason I find that such a compelling phrase is that it's acknowledging the fact that like this is a horrible thing you're going to do, right? We admit that, we acknowledge that, but that's what's going to make you such a good person. That's what's going to make you so honorable, because you're willing to do that horrible thing for the greater good. And you know, when I often think about, you know, Nazis or whatever it might be, I think many of us think of it that they kind of tricked them into it, or there was like a blind spot to it. They didn't acknowledge what they were doing was evil, or maybe they thought, no, everything about this is good. This is what we're supposed to be doing to make the world better, to make Germany better, or to make whatever it is better. But to actually hit it head on and say, no, you're going to do some shitty stuff. You're going to murder some children. You're going to murder some innocent people, not innocent people, but you're going to murder some people. You're going to torture some people. You're going to treat people as if they were scum. And that's going to seem immoral. And in theory, it is. That's an immoral thing. We shouldn't do that. But in this case, that actually makes you good. Most people wouldn't be able to do it. They wouldn't be able to act this immorally. So this like play on our own egos and our own like self-involved need for validation to be like, well, I want to be a good person. I want to be the best possible person. And I get it. This feels hard. It feels like I shouldn't do this to that person, but that's okay. It's supposed to feel hard. That means I'm doing the right thing. That's the sign, right? Because that's what's being asked of me. I have to act immorally. I have to be willing to do that to achieve these things we want to achieve. And something about that concept, that phrase, speaks to so many things I think about, and I can't fully articulate it yet. That's part of the reason I'm making this video, but it speaks to why we can't trust our own mind. It speaks to the ability to manipulate the mind. It speaks to the ability of propaganda, or those that understand the ego and biases and all those flaws of the mind, how they could tap into it in such a sophisticated way and use it to get people to do really shitty stuff. And something about that is just, again, so compelling to me. So this idea that the most ethical, the most honorable thing you can do is to be willing to act immorally, acknowledging how hard that is, how bad that is, but doing it anyway. Oof, that's a concept. That's a concept that's loaded with a lot of things that I think tell us a lot about humanity, human nature, and how our minds work. And there's something to be learned from that, of how we negate that, how we stop that type of sophisticated manipulation from getting us to do really, really shitty things.